Welcome everyone. Today we're going to create a top-down shooter game. So throughout this series, we're going to cover different aspects of the game from start to finish. So it's going to be very focused for a beginner friendly. So if you're just starting in Unreal, this series will be for you. Nothing complicated. I'm going to try to explain everything clearly as possible for beginner. Not just for people that know how that works, but for everyone. I want to be able to have a beginner follow this series and having a full game at the end of it. So we're gonna cover different things such as a menu that we can control with a mouse and also that we can control with our controller. Okay, so we're gonna see how to set up those two things. The game will be playable with a mouse and keyboard and also playable with a controller, so you just have to pick the one that you want. After that, we're going to create different menus, for our game that you can see right now. For an example, if I want to delete my best score, have another menu that asks me, are you really sure that you want to do this or not? So we're going to see how to do this, that little animation, fade in, fade out for our menu. After that, we're going to have some different feature in our game, such as a laser to assist the player to aim. So if I do aim here and take the weapon, have a laser, I use the mouse and keyboard right now to have my crosshair there, but if I use just the controller, you see there's no more crosshair, so you have to use the laser to help you aim. Okay, so we're gonna use that. Also, after that, we're gonna have a flashlight. So if you want to create a level that is in the dark, the player will have access to a flashlight just to make that a little bit more enjoyable. Also, we're going to have a wave system for this top-down shooter game. Obviously, you can just place enemy in the level as you want, or you can go with the wave system. But once again, I'm gonna go to the wave system, and from that you can just expand. Obviously, we're gonna have the AI being able to move by themselves, and when they see the player, chase the player, attack the player, try to destroy the player, and obviously you'll be able to destroy them as well. And when all the enemy are destroyed, it's gonna automatically load to the next level, and so on and so forth until you're finished with your game. And that's pretty much this. There's obviously way more to it than only what I said, but it's very complex. It's really hard to go step by step exactly what we're gonna do. However, I'm gonna try my best to make that organized as possible. So let's jump right into it. So to start, we have to pick a template. So we're gonna take the first person template, and right after this, we're gonna add the third person template. So we're gonna name our project. So for me, I call that YouTube top-down shooter. So that way I know exactly how it is. So now we are in our project. So we have the first person template. So if we play, obviously we have access to the gun and a few things. Just keep in mind that I'm using Unreal Engine 5.3. So from that, we're gonna add the other template that we need. So we can click here on the bottom corner, we can click add, and here we have some feature that we can add, some content. So we're gonna click on add feature and content pack. And from that, we are able to select the third person character and click add to it. So that way we have all the assets that are included with the third person template plus all the assets from the first person template. So before we start a project, it's already important to decide how we're going to organize our thing, because when the project becomes bigger, it's really hard to keep track of everything, especially if we have been working on a project for a long time. We get confused. So to sort this problem, we're going to create a new folder by right-clicking on content here at the bottom of the screen, and we're going to create a new folder. So just create a new folder, and we're going to put the number 1 because I want this to be on the top here, and I'm going to call that core. So everything that I'm going to do in this project will be placed under this folder. And as we put the number 1 is the first one on the top, so everything else is what we had, but we shall not have anything else because we're not going to add anything from the marketplace. So it should be as is, but we're going to use some stuff from the first and the third person template. So we're going to play on those folder once in a while, but everything that we're going to create basically will be keep under core right here. So from core, we need to start with what we're going to do first. So we need some maps, we need some interface, we need some UI. There's a lot of things that we need to do. So we're going to start by what we see at first when we open the game. So the first thing that we see when we open the game is our UI. So the interface or menu. So we can create the menu first, and from that, we're going to expand on our game. Okay, so we have the map here. So with this map here, it's going to be our map to play, but we need also a map for our menu. So this one is the first person map. So what we can do, because we can't duplicate the map from the folder here, so we can just click here on the top, file, and we can save the current level as. So it's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to create a new map. So we're going to save that under core, but also we need a folder because I need that to be placed from the start correctly. Okay, so we're going to click on our core, we're going to create a new folder, and this folder will be called our level or our maps. So I'm just going to call it levels. So from that now we're going to repeat what we just did. So we're going to click on files, we're going to save current level as, and now we're going to be able to go in our core and our level. So all our maps will be saved there. Now we have to name this map. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call the first map or menu map. So menu is going to be our menu map, so we can save it there. So now we have the menu map plus the other map. So if we go to level, we have our menu right here. So you can call it the way you want. So I call that menu, but I want to be a little bit more specific about menu, right? It can be a menu for anything, but we need to make sure that we know it's the main menu. So we can click on the map itself and we can rename this map. Let me check here. I think we cannot rename the map or resave it, or so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna save it again and we're gonna call that main menu. There we go. Now we are in the main menu, so we don't need that menu anymore, so we can just get rid of it. So we have our main menu here. So from that, we don't need this and we don't need this, so we can set up it the way we want, but we're going to work from the main menu for a little while. So we're going to keep it as it. So we have our map here from the main menu. Okay. And here we have the world setting for our map. And if you click here on advanced, sorry, not here, on the game mode here, you can go to the select game mode and you see that you have different settings. Okay. We need a game mode for our main menu, because the game mode that we're going to use in the main menu will not be the same as the game mode when we play. So basically the game mode is some configuration that we put in it, some rules for the map that we're currently using. Okay, so here we're going to need to create a game mode that's going to be replacing the one that is already there. Okay, once again, we're going to go to core and we're going to right click and do a new folder. In this new folder, we're going to name it. So we need to name it something that we're going to remember. So as it's a game mode, we're going to call that game mode. Oops, didn't register. So we're just going to go this way. So it's going to be our game modes. In this, we're going to place all our game modes. So we should have our game mode for our main menu. We should have a game mode for the wave-based system. So basically, when we play the game, we're going to use the wave system to have our enemy spawn and so on and so forth until we're done. And we're also going to have game instance, which is something that run in the background at all time. But we're not gonna jump into it right now, not to get too confused. So we're gonna stay in a game mode. First, we're gonna create our game mode for our main menu. So we're gonna right click and we're just gonna search for creating a game mode. Okay, so we can go all to blueprint here and we're gonna have access to game mode base. So we're gonna select this. So we're gonna be able to set up our game mode for our menu. So we're gonna click on this and obviously we're gonna call that GM for game mode. We're gonna put an underscore, we're gonna call that main and an underscore and menu. So now the rules for our main menu will be right in this. So we can open it and here you can see that the Windows is right there. I want the Windows to always be on the top here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to edit and I'm gonna go under editor preference. And from there, when I open a new window, I want that to go to the main window. So I'm gonna select this option right here. So from now on, every time I create something new, it's going to be displayed right here with the other one instead of like this. Okay. So I prefer to work this way, but you work the way you want, obviously. So in our game mode here, we need few things. Okay. We're not going to do anything here in the viewport because there's nothing to do in the viewport because it's on a game mode. So we need to go to the event graph. And here in the event graph, we're going to use the event begin play. So on event begin play, our game mode is going to help us to create our UI, so the menu that we're going to see. Okay, so we're going to start by holding S on the keyboard. We're going to do a sequence. And you can select all of it and press Q, which is going to align everything correctly. If you're picky a little bit like me, you want to be always look good. So you don't want this like this. You just select everything and you press Q and it's going to align everything together. Okay. So from the number 0, we're going to tell the game mode we want to create our widget. So we're going to just drag from it and we're going to say create our widget. Okay, so this widget will be our widget for the main menu. So what we see at the start when we open the game. So which is our new game, control and quit the game. So it's exactly what it's going to create. So here we have to select one, but we don't have it created yet. But eventually we're going to come back here and put it there. Okay. Now that we have that created, we need to tell the game it needs to be displayed on the screen. So we're just going to drag from the return value here and we're going to add it to our viewport. The viewport is obviously this screen here that we see. Okay. So now it's going to create it and add it to the viewport. We have to put our widget here, but it's not created yet. So we're just going to leave that as blank for now. From the then one, so from one now, what we want to do is that we want to be able to tell the game which input we want to use. Do we want to use, UI only or game mode only input? First, we're going to get our player controller. So right click and get our controller. We need the player controller. From our player controller, we're going to drive from the return value and we're going to search for set input game only. So this one here. I'm going to plug this right there. And from that now we can create a variable that is going to refer to our mouse. Not create a variable, but we have to set our mouse cursor because we want the cursor to be available to the player at the start of the game. Even if you use the controller, we want to see the cursor so we can use the mouse if we need it. Okay, so we're going to drive from the get player controller and we're going to search for show our mouse cursor. We have the get and we have the set. We're going to take set show mouse cursor. We're going to plug it to our game only. And we need to make sure that we are checking this box. Otherwise, the cursor will not display on the screen. And from the pin here, we're going to click once again. We're going to drag. And this time we're going to search for play sound. I'm going to take the 2D. So the only reason why I do that is that if you want to put a sound to your game instead of putting the sound to the map or to your character or anything like this, we're going to put that to the game mode. So the game mode control what's happening in the background, kind of. So by doing it that way, we can select the sound that we want. Obviously, I'm not going to put any music now, but obviously you have access to different sound that you can go through and select something that you would like to play in the background. So if you search for world, you should have something like this. That's a loop sound. Obviously, there's other one that you can put. Just for the example here, we're going to select the first one. So when we do play, it's going to play this sound. Now we get an error when we compile here on the top. It's because we don't have anything set up here, okay? And also a little trick here, if you click on the three dots next to compile, you can go to save. And when you click compile, do you want it to do nothing, or to save only when it's successful, or always save? I always select always because I want to keep any change that I do. Okay, so when I click compile, it's going to save at the same time. So now we can see that we have our game mode. So we're going to go back to our main menu map that we have right here. And here under the wall setting, if wall setting is not showing up here for you, you can always go to Windows and you go all the way down here. You have access to wall setting. If I click on it, it's going to make it reappear here. Okay, so it's not there for some time. It's appearing like this. It's a problem. You go up here to the window, click wall setting, and now you have access to it. Also, if for X reason you move your windows all around and it's all, a mess, and you want that to put it back to normal, you can go to layout and you can select the default classic or the default UI. So it's going to replace all your windows correctly. So from the wall detail in the main menu map, we're going to the game mode here. And as I said at the beginning, we have the first person game mode. We're going to change that and we're going to select the one we created. So our GM main menu. So we're going to select this game mode. And now that's a little bit better. So when we're going to start this, use this game mode. So if we do play, you should hear a music in the background. Of course, you get that error because we don't have anything to display on the screen yet. So we're going to just fix this error very, very quickly. We're going to go to core here. And under core, we need to create another folder that's going to hold up all our UI. So basically, all the UI that we're going to display on the screen for the player. So we're going to right click. We're going to create a new folder. And this folder, we're going to have our main menu. That's going to be everything that we use for our main menu. And we also have another folder that's going to be everything that we use for our gameplay. So we're going to put gameplay. There we go. Obviously, I don't want that to be in the core like this because it's a little bit confusing. So we're going to create a new folder and we're going to put that. We're going to put the name UI, and now we can take our gameplay and our game mode and just drag and drop, move here. And now we have all our UI with everything we need. So another trick, when you move some stuff in your project and you want to keep organized when it's time to compile your project to be able to give the game to someone, you have to click on content here and make sure that you fix up the directory, which is gonna, as you can see here, you can read, but if you have moved something, it's gonna fix all the path. So the game know exactly where to go and locate everything you need. From there, we're good. So we're going to save our main map here, save all. So we're going to go back to our UI and we have our gameplay and game mode. So a gameplay, and we need a main menu. So we're going to create a new folder and we need for our main menu. Oh, I think I already created it. Yeah, right there. So disregard about this step. It's right here. So I'm just going to drag and drop on the UI here. Now we have access to it. I'm going to bring back my game mode to core because I moved it by accident. So now I'm going to click here again on content and fix up the directory. So under the UI here, I'm going to have access to the main menu. And here we can create our widget. So I'm just going to create it our widget, and we're just going to terminate this video here to go to the next one. So we're going to go to user interface, and we're going to go to our widget blueprint, and we're going to select our user widget, and this widget is going to be our main menu widget. So we're going to call that WB for widget blueprint underscore main underscore menu. So it's going to be our widget for main menu. We're going to go back to our game mode here on the top, right? And now we're going to be able to select our main menu widget blueprint that we created. We're going to click there. We're going to compile, and now we have no longer any errors. So we can go back to our map, go files, and just save everything. Now if we do play, you can hear that we have the sound that we put in the background, and we have our game mode. Obviously, there's no more character. It's just like a window like this, but we have access to this. So in the next video, we're going to cover how to create the main menu. Welcome back. Now we're going to create our menu that we're going to see when the players start the game. So we already have our game mode menu here, and we already have the map main menu. So what we're going to do now, we're going to create that UI that we need. So we're going to go to our UI folder. We're going to go to our main menu. And here we have the widget that we created at the beginning. So if you didn't create it, you can right click and you can go to our UI here. So user interface, and you have the widget blueprint. So you can click on this and just name it the way it is on the screen right now. So we're going to open it. Now we are in our widget blueprint. So now we just have to configure how we want the widget to appear to the player. So the first thing that we are going to add is a canvas panel, which is going to be what is displayed on the screen for the player. Under that, we need a title, right, for the game or the main menu or whatever you want to put on the top here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a text. I'm going to search for text, and I'm going to drag the text here to the canvas panel. So the text is showing up here in the corner. I want this text to show up here. You can move it manually. However, the best way to do it is going to the anchor here, the top left, and just select the middle of the screen right here. Now you can see it's right in the middle, so our anchor is right there. So if you reset the position of the text by clicking here on the arrow, it's going to bring that right in the middle. Here on the alignment, we want that to be center, so we're going to put the number 0.5 for both value. So now it's right in the middle here, but you can see it's clipping off the screen, so we have to bring it back a little bit. First, we're going to size to content, so everything that we put fit perfectly in the box. So you can have your box selected like this, and you can use the arrow on your keyboard to bring it down. So I want text to be around here, so you could also take your anchor and move it right there. And now your text will be always displayed there, regardless of the setting that the player is using, is going to be always showing at this location. It's why we use the anchor. So from the text there, I would like to have a line that go under. So we can search for an image, and we're going to take that image. So we're going to call that, we're going to search for image. We're going to drag that right under the canvas panel. Same thing, we want that to be aligned right here. So we're going to take the anchor, put it in the center. We're going to reset the number for the position X. And same thing, we're going to align that right in the middle at 0.5 and 0.5. So our image is right there. So we're going to move this anchor just a little bit below here. And now we can once again take this and reset. Now you're going to see it's right there, but you can see it's really big. So what we can do, we can just play with that image here, and we can expand that image. Right? So now we have a line under our text. So we're going to click on our text. Now you can name your text. So for the title that you want, so you can just here to the text blocks, with your text selected, and you could call that the name of the game or your main menu. So in this case, we're just going to call that main menu for now. So now we have our main menu here. We need to put, our new game, our controls, and quit game. So we're going to search for, I believe it's going to be a vertical box. So let's just search for vertical box. And we're going to drag that right on the canvas panel. So now we have our box right here. Once again, we want this box to be centered to the screen. So we're going to take our anchor, select center, and we're going to reset the position from X and Y. So we have our box right going in the middle of our screen. As you can see, it's unaligned, but we know how to fix that because we already did. We're going to click on align, 0.5 for both value. Now it's going to center that right in the middle for us. So from that, we need a button, right, to be able to click on it for our new game. So we already have button here, so we can drag that right to our vertical box. Now we have one button, but we need 3 more buttons. So we're gonna set up this button first, and after that, we're gonna copy for all the other buttons. So just to save some time, because we're gonna do some change, and we want those change to be valid for all the other buttons. You could create, a button by itself and use your own button, but I want to keep that very simple, so not getting any people confused. So we're gonna use the one that is already included in the project here. So from this button, we need a text, because we need to put a text on the button. So we're gonna drag the text to the button here. So our button will be at fill, okay? And we're gonna use those 2 settings right here. We're gonna put some padding because we're gonna have more button. So we're gonna put 20 here. Okay, we're gonna put a comma, and we're gonna put 30. There we go. Now it's moving, no big deal. We're gonna fix that. We're gonna go to our text. Okay, click on our text here from the drop-down menu here. We're gonna align this in the middle, and we want this text to fit perfectly in our button, right? It's really important because we need that to be right here. So you can expand your button, right? You see? Now it's fitting perfectly when you expand your button, okay? You decide the size of your button that you want. It's up to you, so I will leave that up to you, how big you want that to show on the screen, okay? So as you can see here, it's not very center, so we're gonna replace it because we moved it earlier. So I want that around here, like this, and you can see we put some space for our button, right? If I change that number here, you're gonna see some change on the screen, okay? Look at this. Should have some change, well, for X reason. There we go. So you see it's taking the entire, so I don't want that. So we're gonna put back our number for padding. So the padding is just the space that we want. So we have 20 all around our button. That should be good enough, okay? So we're gonna take this button now, and we need to put some style to the button to have some different effect to it. So we can go to style, and on style you have the normal style and you have the over style. So when we're overing, which color we want? Well, I'm gonna click on overed to have access to all the value below. I'm gonna click on the tint, and I'm gonna change the tint to red. Why red? Because it's easy to see for the change. We're gonna click OK. So now every time I over my mouse over, it's gonna put that in red. Okay. Also, if we go down a little bit, we have the sound when we press and the sound when we hover. So when we press, it's going to do a sound, and when we just go over, it's doing a sound. So from here, I'm just going to click on the drop down menu. I'm going to search for VR underscore click, and I'm going to select click number 1. You can also click here just to hear the sound. So every time we're going to press, it's going to do the sound. Okay. And when we hover, we want a different sound. So I'm going to put duck, and I'm going to select the Windows drop down. So we can click on the sound, right? And select that. So now every time we click or hover, it's going to do those two sounds. So you can see why we set up this button first, so we don't have to redo that for each button that we do. So we set up the first one the way we want to avoid some works down the road. So from our text now, we're going to click on the text. I would like my text to be having something display on it. So this button will be our new game. So we're going to go to text in the detail panel here, and we're going to call that new game. So now you can see it's changing the name of it. And we can go down, go to font, and we can change the size of the text. But what I really like is the outline here. If you put a number here, I'm going to put 3. You can see it's going to do some black around our text, so which look, I believe, way better. Okay, so we're going to extend our button a little bit. All right, you can see, I think this would be good enough. And we want that to be center much as possible, so we can just move it a little bit, or you can also reset the position on the X so it's perfectly aligned in the middle of the screen. So we have our button, so we're good to go with that. So now we can take this button and just duplicate it for all the other buttons, right? So we can click on the button here and just duplicate. So now we're going to have the other window, and we're going to take this button once again, duplicate, and we're going to do that one more time. So now you can see it's not fitting in the box. We're going to take our vertical box, and here when you have the vertical box selected, we can go back to our details here, and we have size to content. It's exactly what we want. So we're going to click on this. Now you can see it's sizing up perfectly the way we want. So now we have new game, new game, new game, but it's not what we want. So we're going to click on the text for this button, and we're going to call this our controls. We're going to go to the other one, and we're going to put that, I'm going to put our delete for our best score. All right, as we saw in the example at the beginning. And this one will be our quit game. There we go. So now we have all our button, we have our main menu here. So obviously you can put that bigger if you want to. So just for the sake of it, so we're going to put that a little bit bigger. And we're going to take the image here and we're going to move it down. Right, we want the image and just move it down. I'm just going to extend that a little bit. There we go. Doesn't need to be perfect. We can play with that later. So we're going to compile and save. Now we have our main menu. So if we go to our main menu map and we do play, when we start, now we have our main menu displayed on the screen. Okay, we can't have access to it yet. There's nothing when we go on the mouse because we have other things to do, but we can see that the main menu is displaying on the screen for us. On each button that we have, so we have the button here, we're going to rename those buttons to make sense. Okay, so on the top here for the detail, we're going to call that the new game button, and it's going to be 0, and it's going to be a variable. So we need to make sure that this is checked. It should be by default. Button number 2, we're going to click on it, and we're going to call that our controls button, and going to put the number 1 next to it. By putting number 0, 1, 2, and 3, it's because when we're going to use our controller, we're going to refer to this, and it's going to be a little bit easier to keep that organized. This one will be our erase game button, and it's going to be number 2. And the other button will be our quit button, which will be quit btn, and it's going to be number 3. Now all our buttons are named properly. So when we go to our graph here, we can see that we have all our buttons, and it's easier to find those buttons. Okay. So as we are already in the event graph here, we're going to set up all our buttons. Okay. There's a lot to do here because we have to set up our controller, but we also have to set up our mouse. We have to set up a lot of things. Okay. So let's jump right into it. So it's going to take a little while. It's pretty long actually. So we'll probably have a tutorial by itself just to set up the controller itself, because the controller is not complicated, but it's just time consuming. So we're gonna remove all of that by selecting all of them. You can click delete on your keyboard. We're gonna create our buttons. We're gonna take our button for our here, the new game. Okay, so on click, you can right click on it, and we need to access the on click. So when you click on it, you see you have on click event here in the bottom of the detail. So you can click on this and it's going to appear this event that we can trigger. Each time we click, it's going to trigger this and it's going to do some action for us. From that, we're going to create another custom event next to it. You can just right click and search for custom event. I'm going to call that new game button. And from the click, we're going to call new game button. There we go. So when we click, it's going to call this event here. I could put all the action behind here, but it's way more useful have it that way because you can call that from your graph here, but if you have this, you cannot call it, right? So by using this method, you can call that anywhere you need for anything you want to do. From that, we're going to put a slight delay, right? And I'm going to put 0.5. And from this now, we're going to get our player controller. So get player controller. Okay, just put that right under. And from that, we're going to set our input. And we need the input for game only. So game only is right here. I'm going to drag that and put it right there. So we can put that right under here. So we keep everything together. Now we're going to get our game instance, right? The game instance is what's run in the background at all times. So it's a blueprint that regardless of where you are in your game, it's always there. There's only one game instance. You can only have one at once. You cannot have two like game modes or any other blueprints. You only have one. And it's where we're gonna save our game later, where we're gonna put all our saving option in the game instance. Okay. From the game instance here, we're just gonna drag and we're gonna get game instance. Here we go. Get our game instance. And from there, we want to get our game instance, but we don't have any game instance. So we're gonna do that very, very quickly and we're gonna come back later to it. So we're gonna go to our content browser. We're gonna go to core. And our game instance, we're going to put it under the game mode. We're going to right click and here we're going to search for game instance. So we're going to go to our blueprint class and we're going to expand and we're going to just search for instance and you should have your game instance here. So we can search for game instance. There it goes right here. So we're going to select this and I'm going to select. So now we have our game instance. We're going to call that my game instance because there's the normal game instance and this one, but we want this one. So back to our graph or main menu, we are going to cast to our game instance. So cast to my game instance. The object will be the game instance that we just searched for it. And now from the game instance here, later on, we're going to be able to load and save our level. Okay, because the game instance will hold all our setting for our game. So all the value that we save is gonna be there. So when we cast to that, we're going to load our setting. So for example, the map that you're working on or your best score or whatever you want to save will be load. And after that, we're gonna open the level. Okay, so just from that, for now, we're just gonna say open level by name. All right, we're gonna leave a little space here, and what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna press C on the keyboard to put a comment, and I'm gonna put here load from game instance. Okay, so just that you know later on that we're gonna have to put that down here. So here's going to be a load from our game instance that we're going to use, but for now we don't have it created because we're not in the game instance tutorial. So we're going to leave it like this. And from that we want to open our map. So it's going to be the first level, so our map number 1. So now what's happening is that when we click on new game, it's going to call our custom event, which is this one here. It's going to wait 0.5 seconds. It's going to take the controller to put that at game only because we want to be game only, not UI, because we're going to play. It's going to cast to our game instance. It's going to load our setting for our game. And after that, it's going to open the map that we want to play. Okay. So from that, we can select all of that. Put C on our keyboard for a comment. And we can just put new game. Right? Or you can write any comment that you want to remember what this is doing for you. So we're going to select all that, and we're going to make sure that we see here show bubble so we can have access to it when we're zoom out. We know exactly what this is doing for us. Okay. So now we're going to take our control right here, and same thing. We're going to click on the unclick. We're going to go to our control here. We're going to create a new custom event, and we're going to call that controls btn for our button. And same, we're going to search for our control. Now when we click control, it's going to refer to this custom event right here. So from that is very, very simple. We're going to drag from it. And when we click on control, we want a new widget to be displayed on the screen. So create a widget blueprint. Create widget. We're going to select our control widget. We don't have it created, but we're going to create it. From that, we're going to add it to our viewport, add to viewport, because we want this widget to be displayed on the screen. However, we have the previous widget that is displayed on the screen right now. We don't want that. We want the main menu, which is this one here, to not be displayed on the screen, right? Because otherwise they're going to be one on the top of each other. It's not what we want. But because we work in the main menu, we can have access to our remove from parent, okay? Which means basically that it's going to remove this widget from the screen and it's going to be replaced by our widget for our controls, okay? And we're going to leave it as is for now. We have a little bit more to do here. So we're going to take all of that once again. I'm going to click C so we can put a little comment here, and it's going to be open controls. So same thing now. We're going to click on our erase button, unclick, and here, same as before, we're going to create a custom event. You don't have to do it that way. Obviously, you can put all your code here, but I found it's way better when you do it that way. So from that, we're going to call erase game button. And now we can access this. There we go. From that, we're going to do our code. Same thing. I'm going to create a widget because it's going to display a widget to say, do you really want to erase your game? And you're going to say yes or no. Same thing as up here. We're going to add it to our viewport. And from that, we have to remove the widget, which is the main menu widget. So this from the screen once again. So we're going to just drag and remove from parent. It's maybe looking confusing, but because we are working in the main menu widget, which is this, it's why we don't have to attach any target, because the target is already the main menu. Okay. I'm going to leave it as is for now. So now we can select everything, dual comment, and we're going to call that erase game slot, which is going to be our save one. Okay, I'm not going to put any cap here, like this. Okay, same thing, we're going to select those two by holding control, and we're going to make sure that we show the bubble. So it's a preference, so you do what you want from there. We're going to click on the quit button right here. Same thing we're going to do on unclick, drag from it, and same as before, we're going to do a custom event, and I'm going to call that quit btn. Now we're going to be able to get our quit. Okay, and from that we're going to wait a little delay, not because I don't want as soon as you click it's exiting the game, right? So we're going to wait 0.5 seconds and we are going to quit game. So we're going to select this one here under the game, and it's quitting the game for us. So now we're going to select all of that. I'm going to do control, and I'm going to call that quit game. Okay, same thing. We're going to select our comment, and we're going to click show bubble. So now we have our basic understanding of our menu. Okay, so we're going to compile that, and now we're going to have an error because we don't have our two widget here. So we're going to fix that right now, and we're going to do another video for the control and for our erase game. Okay, so we're going to go to our core here. We're going to go to our UI, and it's going to be from the main menu here folder. We have our main menu, but we also want our other menu. Duplicate this one because we want to keep the same button that we created. So what we're going to do, we're just going to right click on it, going to click duplicate, and we're going to call that widget blueprint, and it's going to be for our controls. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate that once again, and now we're going to call that erase button. So prompt, there we go. So now you can save all by going on the top here and click on file. Now we have our prompt and control, which has a spelling mistake here. Now we can just go to it. Now it's our control, so we don't need that big vertical box anymore. And we can delete it. Click on our main menu and just put here for our text controls. Okay, gonna compile that. Of course, you get an error because you have all that, but we don't need this code, so we can select all of it and delete it. And to compile, now we have our control widget, which is what's going to be displayed on the screen. We can exit out of it. Gonna go back to our main menu, our widget blueprint main menu. Now under control, we can go and select our control. And same thing, we're going to select our erase prompt, which is right there. And now we can compile and save. And now we have no more error for our main menu. We're going to go back to our main menu. And this time we're going to go to our erase prompt. And we're just going to remove the vertical box. And we're going to click on text here. And it's going to be our erase prompt. So we're just going to put what we can put. I think we're just going to put, yeah, just put erase for now. We can obviously change that at any time without problem. So now we're going to compile. Same thing, we're going to go back to our graph, and we're going to remove all of that code because we don't need it for that. And we're going to compile. So now we have our erase, our main menu, and our control. So now if we do play, as you can see, now we have access to our button that become red the way we set up. If we click on control, it's opening control. Okay, but we can't go back to the main menu, so we're gonna have to do a little thing here to go back to the main menu. We're gonna do that in another video. But if we do play again, now we can click on best score, and it's going to prompt this window. Okay, so we can see that it's starting to take shape. On this, I will catch you on the next one, and we're going to continue our menu system. So we're going to go to our control menu. So we're going to go to core, or UI, main menu, and we have our control menu right here. We're going to click on it. And here on our control, we're going to make our control appear here. But we also need a button here in the bottom corner that will tell us that we can go back. Right? So what we can do, we can just take a button. We already have a button in the main menu here that we created. So we want to keep the same setting. So what we can do, we just copy this button, go back to our control button, and now I should be able to paste it to my canvas panel, which is right there. I want the button to show right in the corner here. So I'm going to take the new game button here. I'm going to make the anchor to the bottom left corner. I'm going to go to position X and just click on the arrow to bring that back down here. Now I'm just going to move that around here, and I can reset the button once again. And it's going to be aligned right here in the corner the way I want. I'm going to click on the button. Obviously, we have the new game button. It's not what we want. We want to rename it for back. So we're going to click and change the name for back. Not changing the name here, but it's changing the name of the button, as you can see here. Now we're going to click on the text. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to write back. As you can see, now we have it right there. However, our button is not sized to content, so we're going to click on button. We're going to click here to size to content, which is going to make everything perfectly right here. Okay, so you can even put it, if you make it bigger, you can see that you can play like this, or just put size to content. And same thing, you could click and put some padding. So let's see if we put a bigger number. So you see it's changing that, so you can play with those values to put whatever you like. So I'm gonna leave it as is. So now we have our back button. So we're all good with that. Same as the other button here, right? Same thing. It's right there now. So I want that to be just a little bit, let's say around here. I'm gonna make sure my anchor is moved right in the middle where I want to have the back. I'm gonna compile that. Now I can click on the button, go all the way down here, and unclick. It's gonna bring me to this window, so the graph window. And from there, I'm gonna be able to just click. We want to be able to go back to the main menu. So once again, we're gonna click a custom event, and we're gonna call that back button. And from the back button here, we can now call our back button custom event that is right here. From that, very simple, we want to create a widget. The widget that we want to create, when we click on that, is going to be our main menu widget. We want to make sure that it's displayed on the screen, so we're going to add to viewport. We're going to remove this widget, not the one we created, the one that we're currently in. So the control widget, we have to remove it. So we're going to click remove from parent. We don't need any target because we're already in the control widget. And we're going to select all of that, do control. And here, we're just going to write that it's bring you back to the main menu. So later on, we're going to come back here for the controllers. When we click with the controllers, we want to be able to have some action, because right now it's only working for the mouse. But later on, we're going to come back with the controller. We're going to put some codes here. When we click on a certain key on our controller, it's going to do the same action as this. But you're going to see it's way more complicated than it is for doing the mouse here. So we're going to compile. We're going to go to our erase prompt. Same thing. We're going to create a little box here that's going to ask us if you want to erase or not. Okay, it's going to be very simple. So we're going to search for a vertical box. I'm going to take that vertical box, just put it to the canvas panel. We're going to select the vertical box. We want the anchor to be in the middle of the screen. Now we can reset the alignment for our box. We're going to make sure that it's 0.5, so it's perfectly centered in the middle of the screen. From that, we're going to add 2 buttons, right? We could add a new button, but because we want to keep the same layout for all our buttons, we're going to go back to our main menu. We're going to copy the previous button, so I'm going to copy the new game button. And from the vertical box, I'm just going to paste twice, and now I'm going to rename those buttons. The first button will be our erase button. But before that, we're going to click on the vertical box and we're going to do size to content. It's placing everything correctly for us. We're going to go back and select the button. We're going to change the new game button to erase game button. Now we're going to click on the text for the game button and we're going to put a text, yes, delete my game. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to click on the button. Instead of new game button, we're going to call that no button. Okay. And we're going to click on the text. We're going to change the text and you can write whatever you want. No, don't delete my game. Okay, so we have our 2 buttons. We're going to compile that. Now we want this one to be red, that text. You know, it's obvious that you want to do that. You can put the color you want, obviously. So we're going to put the text and we can change that. So when you hover, we're just going to go to our color and opacity here. And we can just change that to red. So we can put that to 0, 0. Now we're going to have our text red. So we know exactly that we want to delete that. We're going to compile. And now we're going to go to the event graph. We won't be able to do too much because we don't have our game system for saving our game yet. But we can start with it a little bit and come back to it later. So we're going to click on unclick for erase button. Same thing as previously. We're going to go to our custom event. We're going to create and we're going to call that erase game button. And now we can call our erase game button. And from that, I'm going to drive from it and I'm going to search for delete game in slot. Our game in slot will be named save1. We're going to create a widget. So create a widget that we want to create. It's going to be our main menu because we want to go back to the main menu. So main menu, I'm going to make sure that we add it to the viewport and that we have to remove. So remove from parent the current widget, which is our erase prompt widget. So now we can select all of that, do a comment, and it's going to be erase game slot. And it's going to be our save1. Now we have our back button. So we're going to click on our back button. So we're going to go back there. And we need a back button right here. So same as previously, we can go to control and just copy that button here because it's already set up the way we want. So just control C. Go back to the erase prompt, click on the canvas panel and just control V to paste it out. And it should be pasting out exactly where you want it. So it's going to be at the same location as this one here, almost at the same location. Okay, you can play with that if you want that to be centered at the same place. So you can even go to control and see all the setting here. And you can go back and look if it's the same setting and adjust the setting the way you want. I'm not very picky on that, so I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to go back to the graph. Now we have access to our back button. Okay, so same thing. We're going to click on the back button here, unclick at the bottom. And when we click the back button, once again, we're going to search for custom event. It's going to be no button, right? And here now we can call our no button. And from that, we're going to create a widget. The widget I want to create is our main menu widget that we click yes or no. We want to go back to the main menu. Same, we're going to add that to our viewport. And we're going to make sure that we remove the current widget from the screen, which is remove from parent. Okay, we're going to select all of that. Click a comment. It's going to be our back button. So we're going to compile and save. And now if we test it out, everything should work. So we're going to go to our map. Here we have our control, and click back, go back to the main menu, go to our delete best score. We have our delete best score here. We have our 2, so that we click yes, and bring it back to the main menu. If we go and say no, you can see here, it's not bringing us back to the main menu, but this one here, bring you back to the main menu. So it just means that we forget to do the other one. So it's going to be the same code as here. So we're going to click on erase game. So just make sure that it's there. So no button, it's right there. And this is the back button. Okay. So that's the back button. So when we click back button, and you see I did a mistake here, it's supposed to be the back button. So instead of casting for that, I'm just going to remove that. And take all that, right? Just move it down. Now we're going to click on the back button, unclick, which is right there, but we want the no button. So we're going to click on the no button, unclick, there we go. So we're going to plug it right there. So when we click on the no button, which is this one here, it's going to bring us back to the main menu, okay? And this one will be the same. When we click back, it's need to bring us back to the main menu. So we're going to do a custom event, and we're going to call that back button. And now we can call our back button. As I said, you don't have to do it that way. You could put all your code right after this. I just prefer it that way because it's a little bit more flexible. Same thing, we're going to just copy all that, just Control C and Control C up here and connect all of that. Okay. So now we can compile, so we can select all of that, do another comment, and this will be our no, bring you back to the main menu, right? So we can select all of those comment here just to show bubble, just look a little bit better. Now we can compile. So now we're going to try that one more time. Play. We have our control. We can go back. We have our delete best score. Yes, go back, or no, go back, or even back here. And it's going back. And when we click quit, technically should quit the game for us, as you can see here. So now we have all our menu working out for us. So now you just have to set up the menu the way you want to have your control here, the way you will like to have that. I will keep that. I will leave that up to you the way you want to display your control. You can download a picture, put it there. So or just write some text and put it there. So you can click text here, search for text, and place your text to tell player what is doing what. Just to keep that very basic, I think it's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're going to go to our control, and we're just going to add another box. So we're going to search for vertical box and add a vertical box to the canvas panel here. This box will be around here. So just move that around there, and we're going to search for text. We're going to put a text to that vertical box. Going to make sure that our vertical box, we are selecting it and put size to content. So now our text is fitting perfectly in it. Okay, we need 2 texts. Well, or you can just put, click on your text and I don't know, W equal move forward, right? And you can duplicate this to now saying that S move backward, and so on and so forth for everything else. And you can put your control like this, or you can put an image, do like I did in the preview, and having your control showing on the controller. But because we use the template, we don't have access to these pictures, but you're free to put that picture if you want to. So I will leave you set up your control menu the way you want. Hey, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to see how to do some animation for our menu. First, I want to fix a little issue that I found. So we're going to go under the game mode for our main menu. And here on even begin play, we have our sound. So we're going to click on the loop here to browse to it. We're going to open this sound. And we need to make sure that the sound volume is 0.1. You can put the number you want, but I found it was way too loud. And we want our music, which we want it to loop, with that out of the way, we're going to go to our main menu here, and we're going to create our first little animation to fade in and out this text. Very, very simple to do. We're going to make sure that we have the canvas panel selected. We're going to go under animation. We're going to click on the plus here for the animation. We're going to call that fade in. We're going to select that fade in animation. We're going to click on track, and we're going to select our canvas panel. If you don't see the canvas panel, it's because you don't have it selected. So now it's not selected. If I click here, you can see it's not there. So you need to make sure that you have your canvas panel all in green selected before clicking on animation. So that way it's giving you access to it. When you have your canvas panel right here, we're going to click on the plus, and we're interested for the render opacity. Click on this, and we have our value, which is 1, which means that we are able to see the text here. So we're going to drag that to 1 second, and we're going to click on the little plus here to add a key. And this key is the one that will be 1. The first key, by clicking on it, you know you have it because it's in blue. We're going to change the value to 0. As you can see now, we don't see our text, but when you play the animation, you can see it's going to do this. When the menu is going to go and play, we're going to see this little animation. So now that we have the animation, we have to tell the engine to use this animation. So we're going to go under graph. Under the graph here, we're going to search for our event construct, which is very similar to our event begin play. So when the menu will get in play, it's going to start by casting to, not casting, but it's going to execute this event construct first. So from that, we want to hold S on our keyboard and click left click on the mouse to have access to a sequence. We're going to go under variable here and select the animation. We're going to take the fade in animation. We're going to drag it and get fade in. Drag from the animation. We're going to do play animation. And we're going to select the forward one because we want to play the animation forward. And the target is obviously this blueprint, which is the main menu. Okay, we're going to compile, and if we do play, you shall see the menu popping out, like slowly appearing, right? It's exactly what we're looking for. We can select everything and do Q on it just to have it all aligned perfectly. So now we're going to repeat the same process for our control menu. So we have our control menu. In the last episode, I let you decide what you wanted to do with the control. As you can see, I decided just to do something very, very simple. So a vertical box with our text, right? So I repeat the same process twice for 2 boxes. You can see here on the side. So you can take your time and do the same if you want to, or do whatever you already have done, right? So from that, we're going to do the same process. We're going to click on animation. We're going to create an animation. We're going to call that fade in. We're going to select the animation. We need to make sure that we have our canvas panel selected. We're going to click on the canvas panel here. Make sure it's in green, as you can see right now. Go under animation, click on fade in, track. We have access to our canvas panel. We're going to click on the little plus here, and we're going to select render opacity. Same thing as before, we're just going to move this to 1 second. Click on the little plus here, add another key. We're going to select the first key, and we're going to change the value to 0 and click enter. So now it's doing exactly like the other one. Our menu is going to appear and disappear every time this menu will be created. Same thing, I'm going to compile, I'm going to go to graph, and I'm going to search for our event construct. From the event construct here, same thing, I'm going to hold S on the keyboard and left click to have access to our sequence. And we need to take our animation, so it should be right here under variables. I'm going to take the fade in, drag and drop, and we're going to search for play animation. We know we want to play the forward animation, so we're going to select this one and put it right there. The target is obviously this blueprint. We're going to compile, and now if we are using it, play, we have control, same thing, it's not slowing down, but appearing, and it's a little bit more, I think it's better than just having snappy like this one. See, depending on what look you're looking for. but I'm looking for something a little bit more animated. Obviously you can do way more, but it's very simple. So we're going to repeat the same process once more, but this time we're going to select the erase prompt. So this one here. Same thing, I'm going to click on animation. We're going to create a new animation. Make sure we have our canvas panel selected, so it's all in green. Click on animation. On your faded animation, we're going to add a track. So now we can add the canvas panel. And we're going to click on the little plus, take our render opacity, move this to 1 second. Click on the little plus here to add a keyframe. And we're going to select the first key. And we're going to put the value of 0, same. Going to do exactly the same animation as before for the other two other widget that we have. Going to go under graph now. Same thing. We're going to search for our event construct. From event construct, we're going to Alt S on our keyboard to do a sequence by left clicking on the mouse. We're going to take this animation, faded animation, drag and drop on the board here. And this time we're going to select play animation. And we want to play the forward animation for this one. So we're going to select forward animation, plug it there, compile, and now all our menu should have that little fade in and fade out animation. So it's exactly what we want. So it's look a little bit better. So here on the delete, I want this to have this text going in and out all the time. Not in and out, but kind of appearing and disappearing each time. As soon as we remove our mouse from it, I want it to stop. So I just want an extra layer to tell the player visually, hey, you have this box selected. So when you click on it, it's going to erase your game. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to create this little animation. Very, very easy to do as well. We're going to go under the designer tab, and click on animation, and we're going to select another animation. And this one, we're going to call this animation, I call it flash, but you can call the name that you feel it's appropriate for you. We're going to click on track. Same thing. We don't want the canvas panel this time. We want this text, right? So we're going to click on the text here, and we're going to go under animation, and now we can select text. And same thing, click on the track here, and we're going to select render opacity. And at 0.5, we're going to add a keyframe, and at 1, we're going to add another keyframe. The middle keyframe will be 0. So now, as you can see, when I'm going to play, it's going to do this. Okay, but it's going to do it only once. So we need to find a way to do it all the time as long as our mouse is over it. Okay. The way to fix that, not to fix that, but to make that happen, we're going to click on the button. I'm going to go all the way down. And I'm going to go on over, and we're going to go back, and I'm going to select on hovered. Okay, so we have our two action here when we have our mouse over the button and when it's not on the button, right? From that, very simple, we're going to take our flash animation, just drag and drop right here. We're going to search for play animation, and this time we're going to select the first one, because the first one gives us a little bit more option, and what I'm looking for is the loop here. I want to loop infinitely as long as the mouse is over. So we're going to select 0, which means all the time. So if you put here, it's say 0, it's going to loop indefinitively. So it's exactly what we want. Now we need a way to stop this animation from playing when we're having our mouse not over anymore. When the mouse is not over the button, we need to stop. Well, it's going to be very easy. We're just going to drag from the animation and just type stop, and we have access to stop animation. We're just going to plug this right there, and now we should be all ready to try it out. We're going to do play, go on best score. When we're over, it's flashing, and when we remove our mouse, it's stopping. So we can see that it's working perfectly the way we want. So that's pretty much this I wanted to do on this one. I think we did control as well, right? Yes, control is done, erase prompt is done, and main menu is done. So if you have more menu in your game, go ahead with that. Otherwise, we're all done with the animation for this video, and I will catch you on the next one. Hey, hello everyone. Today we're going to set up our camera for our main menu. What I mean by this is that when we do play, since we created our menu, when we move the mouse, it's moving the screen as well. So we're gonna fix that. Very, very simple to do. We just have to change the default pawn class here to a camera. So how we're gonna do that? First, we're gonna go to our UI and main menu, right click, and you do blueprint class, and we'll go to pound here. And we're gonna call this pound blueprint underscore menu underscore camera, and we're gonna open it. So here we only have to change a few settings here. So by having the blueprint selected, we're going to search for our spring arm. We're going to click on it. With the spring arm selected, we're going to add once more and we're going to search for a camera, which is right there. So now we have the spring arm that is represented by the red line, and the camera, well, it's right here. So we want the camera to be further back because it's really close. It depends on what you want to achieve as a view for your camera. But for this tutorial, I'm going to put 1,000 here, and you can see that now the camera is 1,000 units from this point to there. So you could play with the camera, you know, I want my camera to be there and adjust it like this, and you know, just play around. But we're not going to do this. I'm just going to put that very, very simple because I want the camera to show in an angle like this. So what I have to do, I'm just going to go to the spring arm here, and under rotation, we're going to select the middle one. I'm just going to put -50. Now you can see that the camera go automatically in the sky because we changed the value for our spring arm, and because the camera is attached to the spring arm, it's the reason why the camera is following up. If it was not attached, you will have your line up here and the camera will stay down here. So it's really important that your camera is under the spring arm. So every value that you change for the spring arm should technically change the location for your camera. So from this now, if we do compile, we're going back to our main menu right here. So we have to change the default pound here under the role setting. If you don't have your role setting, because sometimes we click the X by mistake, you can go to Window, and we can get back our role setting by here, or you can always load the default UI. Okay, so we have our default pound here under the role setting. We want to take our new camera that we just created. So we're going to click on it. Because we created a pound, we can select default pound class, so we have access to our camera. So we're going to go and select our menu camera, and we're going to do play, and you're going to see that it's not going to work, right? Because first we have to put the camera in our level, right? So we're going to take our camera, we're going to put it around here, we're just going to put it a little bit up, so you can see that the camera is pointing down here, so you can, you know, rotate your camera around here. So I'm going in the opposite direction, and when I'm going to do play, you see that even if we selected the camera as our default pound here, we're not going to start with it. So if you do play, you see I'm starting right here, and it can be an issue, and you're wondering why I just selected the default pound but nothing's happening. Well, it's because we have a little extra step to do. With the camera selected, we need to click on details. With the details here, you have auto process. So we need to tell that we want to have this camera at first when we start. So we can click on the disable here and just select player 0 because we are the player 0. By doing this, if I do play now, you can see the camera is exactly where I want it to be. So if I move this to this corner and go to the opposite corner when I do play, yeah, I'm starting exactly where the camera, and when I move my mouse, it doesn't move the screen anymore. But with this, I just wanted to add a little more to this camera because it's really boring to have the camera right there, depending on what you want to achieve. Basically, I just want a little bit more animation to that. So I'm going to select the menu camera. I'm going to do add and just search for rotation. So we have rotating movement here. I'm going to select this, and now the camera will rotate around this point. but it's gonna turn around 180. It's way too fast, right? We want something to be lower. If you do play right now, you'll see that it's very, very fast. You know, if you want to make your player dizzy, go for it, but it's not the point of this video. So we're gonna change the rotation rate, just something around 5 or so, right? And when you do play, now we have the camera that it's slowly turning. So if you want to show some stuff in your level while the player is in the menu, you will be able to do so, okay? So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. So we have set up the camera for our main menu. So I think that's going to be this for this video, and I will catch you on the next one.